This week's episode is brought to you by Capital Financial Advisory Group for all your retirement needs.
Hey folks, we've got a very exciting show for you this week on the Financial Safari. We're going to talk about traffic lights and how they can correspond to the financial world, specifically red, green, and yellow, and how important it is for everybody out there to fully understand what a green portfolio can do to you. And I'm not talking about environmental friendly, even though that's not a bad thing. I'm talking about retirement friendly and your retirement friendly and your lifetime income. We're going to talk about that and much more this week on the Financial Safari.
Broadcasting from coast to coast, it's the Financial Safari with your host, Coach Pete D'Arruda. You'll hear from some of the nation's top financial professionals. So stick around and find out how to make it through the jungle of the financial world, right here on the Financial Safari.
Welcome into the Financial Safari. Coach Pete right here. Right over there is Mr. Chuck Clayton, Hall of Fame NHL broadcaster. Chuck, I think about 40 years of your life has been spent in front of a microphone with hockey.
Exactly.
You also have football. You were a Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Michigan, Wisconsin, 9 years in the Big Ten, and it was delightful to be a part of all of that.
It's always fun to have a voice like that in the studio.
Love it.
You can see the voice now. See the voice. And then we have Mr. Greg Berrien. He's a financial all-star, one of the best members of my financial planning team, and handles from Central to Eastern North Carolina mainly, right, Greg?
Put some miles on, Coach.
Yeah. Office down there in Landfall, Wilmington. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, of course, up here in the Triangle, Research Triangle, Raleigh, we have the big office, and Greg's an extension of the big office, does a really good job down there. Guys, let's talk about one of the main concerns. And Chuck, you've talked to a lot of athletes who have retired, a lot of broadcasters, a lot of people in the NHL who have retired, and you told me the main concern people have is income when they get to retirement.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's almost like an oxymoron, too, Coach, because you think these guys make tons of money. And
well, they do for a little bit of time.
Right. And you would think that they would know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But we've seen many cases, and especially, and it's transcended different generations, too. I'm not just talking about the guys of the 70s and 80s.
Right.
I'm talking about guys up to 10, 15 years ago who entrust people with their money, and suddenly they don't have it, and they're wondering why.
On our radio show, our national radio show each week, we do something called Brokers Behaving Badly. And every single week, I see so many bad instances of people taking advantage of people. Yeah. And I send it over to Steve Siddall, who's in our production facility, and he has to decide. He's got the toughest job in the world. He has to take all these fraud cases, and he has to pick the one that he thinks will be the best segment on the radio.
It's amazing.
That's a lot of content.
Because there's been a lot. We're talking multi-million-dollar theft of money where people didn't realize it was happening.
Well, let me tell you something. You know as well I do. In case you didn't know this, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Coach Pete is a big Boston Bruins fan.
I am.
And he remembers the name of Robert Gordon Orr.
Oh, yeah. We had Bobby Orr on our show years ago.
Absolutely. Yep. And so Robert Gordon Orr had an agent named Alan Eagleson. And a 9-year career, which was lucrative for the time. And I mean, we're talking a guy made $100,000, $200,000 a year back then, had nothing at the end. And the reason was he entrusted Eagleson, who later went to jail, by the way, because he treated a lot of players like that, wrongly.
Well, Bobby Orr was one of the best hockey players I've ever seen. His career, he would have had a 20-year career, but he had bad knees.
Absolutely. A 9-year career, he was just cut off. But and now, you know, the nice thing, there's a moral of the story. He is now a player agent, a player representative, and he does right by his clients.
Well, he learned from his mistakes, and he's training his clients to not fall for the same dirty tricks he did. Same thing with Rocky Bleier. He used to do a radio show with Rocky Bleier, Pittsburgh Steelers, running back, fullback on the Super Bowl winning teams back in the 70s. And he said, Coach, I fell for the wrong advice. I believed in the wrong people, and I fumbled my retirement. So he wrote a book called Don't Fumble Your Retirement. Yeah. Money Lessons Learned by 4-time Super Bowl champion Rocky Bleier. What a great guy, though. And so the main lessons are the same thing. When you and I talked about that, and we talked to Bobby Orr about this, about Rocky's situation, he said it sounds about the same way as mine. He started entrusting people he shouldn't have trusted with, trusted people that he gave money to that maybe he should not have, and over the course of time, Greg, it disappeared. Because he trusted, but he forgot to verify.
Right.
And that's why this fiduciary rule that you hear about a lot of times, which basically means in the financial world, that it is our responsibility as financial advisors and investment advisors to put your needs over our needs. It's common sense to me. I've been practicing it for almost 30 years now. But now it's a law, and if somebody violates that, they can be held accountable. Greg, it's very important to do the right thing.
Oh, without a
Yeah.
doubt. That's the whole thing. It is common sense.
It is.
But unfortunately, there are people that live outside that boundary, and they love to go beyond the fence. And so that fence hopefully holds the bad ones in. But you don't have to worry about us with the fiduciary.
Outside the bubble, when they had the playoffs last year in the NHL, we're in the bubble.
Oh, don't remind me. I'll tell you.
I thought about Bubble Boy. I thought about a Seinfeld episode every time I heard the bubble.
Absolutely, yeah, that was difficult. But no, Greg's absolutely right. When you talk about insidious and deceitful people,
Yeah.
you just have to. They're not fiduciaries.
It's
let's
so
put it
easy to
that
do
way.
the right thing for folks, and you have a lot better life if you're a planner doing the right thing, because you're not having to, every time the phone rings or every time you hear a door slam outside when you're home, it's not the cops coming to get you. So you have to do the right thing. There was a movie called that, I think, Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing.
Well,
Now-
Coach, we have the sleep well at night concept.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
one.
for our clients.
Right.
Also, that works for us too.
It does.
If you don't do the right thing, you're not going to sleep well at night.
If I did
And-
the wrong thing for somebody, I wouldn't sleep well, because I don't ever want to put someone's retirement in jeopardy.
No, never.
And so I treat everyone like my parents, and I know you do too. I mean, we're assuming that you like your parents, by the way. But I mean, if I wouldn't put my parents in something, why would I put somebody else in it? If I want to put myself in something, why would I put somebody
Exactly.
else in there? Now, you'll see in front of us, it's 2 pages. This is the outline of a new book I'm writing. So it's called Red, Green, Yellow Lights. It's like a traffic light. And so I've broken it down for all different age groups and all different risk and all different safety and everything you can imagine in the financial world. And I'm trying to make it easier to understand, from how do you claim Social Security to how do you make sure your next of kin knows that they have money that you're leaving them, and how to make sure that you can maximize your estate so that when you pass away, when I say maximize, I mean make it as clean tax-wise, tax efficiency. We call it tax navigation strategy, TNS, making sure what you have not only comes to you most tax efficiently, but it passes on to your next of kin. And Greg, this is a big thing these days because of the new tax laws we've been hearing about with the new administration. The estate, the benefits of leaving money to your next of kin in certain financial vehicles may go away now, because there was something called a step up in cost basis, which is gonna go away, we hear. And that basically means, let's say, Chuck, you bought some real estate in Wrightsville Beach. Let's say you bought it in 1950 something, and you got a great deal. You paid $50,000 for gigantic beachfront property, and it's grown now and it's worth $4 million. Let's just say, I'm just say, folks, I have no idea what. This is hypothetical.
You're close.
Worth $4 million now. Okay, let's say we're going to kill you, Chuck. You pass away, and your wife does too. Both in the same car. You're in a car. Boom. All right. In the old days, and as it exists now, because it hasn't changed, but in the old days, the $4 million property value that you had would pass on to your children. Guess how much they would owe in taxes when it passed on? Zero,
because that's
it's
what it's worth.
step
Yeah.
up in cost basis.
Right.
That means that you bought it at whatever, 50,000, but your kids would inherit it at whatever the value it is today, and the IRS assumes that's what they paid for it.
Right.
So all they will owe tax on is if it goes up in value after the day you die. Well, the new tax law is going to say that now you pay. Well, again, you have to pay the rec. The kids inherit the land. Guess how much they owe on tax on that now?
Well, it's going to be
$950,000.
Right.
Gigantic difference, folks.
I was a math major
To
too.
the
I
point
figured
where,
that
Chuck,
out.
they're not going to be able to pay the tax on that. So guess what they're going to have to do?
Sell it.
Sell the land. So very important to utilize financial vehicles out there that will give you tax-free money that they enable your children to get your children tax-free money that will enable them to buy the land if they want or pay the taxes on the land in a tax-efficient, tax-free manner. So very important, Greg.
What about these
Life
gigantic
insurance.
farms out there too?
Well, everything.
Yeah,
I mean, anything
everything.
that's gone up in value. Let's say that you've had land in your family for 300 years or whatever. Who knows? I mean, or let's say 100 years, 150 years. We've seen a lot of growth. Well, in the past, and as it exists in the old world, your next of kin would not owe taxes on any of the gains that you had, or your next of kin who left you had. Let's say that you inherited some land from somebody else, and now you have it. When you die, the tax is going to go all the way back to the day the first person bought it.
amazing.
It's scary, folks,
Yeah,
very
it is.
scary. So now I would encourage you to sit down with a planning team and get a review of your current situation, and more importantly, put a proactive red, green, yellow light strategy together to minimize and eliminate unnecessary taxes and keep what's yours in your family. Call the number you see on the screen, no cost or obligation. You also get a 3-book set when you call.
Do you know how much you're paying in fees or commissions with your current plan or advisor? What about unnecessary risk or future tax implications? Sit down with a fiduciary advisor who can help you understand important retirement concepts, and so you can make the best decisions for yourself moving forward. We may even be able to answer questions you didn't even know needed to be asked.
Do you hear that? That's me enjoying my retirement. Traveling around the world to play golf, where I want, when I want, with whomever I want. Even got some customized clubs. Because years ago, I rolled over my IRA with the help of a local trusted advisor. Contact us to get started today. This is a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review to help educate and enlighten.
Welcome back into the Financial Safari, folks. This is your show that's here all the time for you to keep you educated on what's really going on. Greg Berrien to my left is one of my best advisors here in the North Carolina area. We've got Mr. Chuck Clayton, the voice of the NHL Hall of Fame broadcaster, Carolina Hurricanes for a long time. Boston Bruins, he likes a Bruins fan, but he wanted to be a broadcaster for the Bruins, I'm sure, because then I would have even known him sooner than I did. As a Hurricane announcer, though, I've heard Chuck for years, and many of you have too. And Chuck, you've been all over the place.
Yeah,
You've
well,
met a lot of people.
I know that we go all over the country, and there's some beautiful places in the country with wonderful people, and I've been very blessed for over 39 years.
So yeah, if you're watching the show, no matter where you're watching it, because we are affiliated all over the nation right now, but when you travel around, when you travel with the team, because you got to travel with the team, what was your favorite, and again, you're going to make some people mad and some people happy, probably, but what was your favorite area that you visited?
Wow, I'm going to have to answer that with two areas, Canada and the United States. My favorite place in the United States was...
Oh, I thought you were saying your two favorite areas were Canada and the United States. It was covered as
and then I'm going to run for president if I do that. But anyway, in the United States, it would be Chicago. For some reason, I loved Chicago Stadium. The old Chicago Stadium in the United Center is fantastic. Great city, great food, great people.
You been to Chicago?
And
I love Chicago.
Yeah, original
nice.
6 team. Yep. And then, of course, I have to say, in Canada, there's nothing like the old Montreal Forum. Montreal would be my second favorite.
I can't speak French, though, so one time I went there with my parents, I felt lost.
Yeah.
Sort of like being in Paris.
Yeah. La rondelle et bout!
So, best food in Canada, Chuck. What province?
Best food in I have to say Quebec again with the French cuisine in old Montreal.
You like little portions, huh?
Well, I order about 6 meals, so that's why I look like I do.
Greg, what's your favorite place in Canada? Have you been to Canada?
We did some whitewater rafting up there, but that was my favorite place. I loved it. It was the Rouge River. It was nice.
Are you sure not the Rouge River in Detroit by the Ford plant, or not that Rouge River? Right?
Now, where are you from? Where
I'm
were you
from
born?
upstate New York.
Okay, so
originally.
you're pretty close. Did you ever go to Niagara Falls?
Oh yeah.
That's a pretty cool place. I
Absolutely.
haven't been in a long time, but I remember I had 2 brothers growing up. I was the oldest, Bob was the middle, and Jeff was the youngest. But my parents always worried about Bob because he was always falling down, and so we got up. This was back in the 70s, like early 70s. Went to Niagara Falls, and it didn't have the elaborate guard gates around or the gates around the waterfall. So I mean, he could almost walk right up to it. My dad, I remember he had his hands in the back of my brother's jeans holding him so he couldn't fall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to go down there in a barrel or jump in. Yeah.
Now we try to do the same thing. We try to put our hands in a safety position on your portfolios because we don't want anyone falling, especially when it's close to the time where you're going to need that money, which is called retirement. We call this the financial red zone. It's anytime over 50. You need to start paying attention to not only where your money is, but why it's where it is and how it's going to come out for you when you reach retirement, and if that money is going to come for your lifetime. Chuck, the most confusing thing for a lot of folks out there when I talk to them, and I think you have too, a lot of your friends, is when they say they have a retirement plan, but when I look at the statements and everything you have financially, there is no guaranteed lifetime income. There's no growth protection lifetime income plan, and it's called a retirement plan. Do you agree with the fact that if it doesn't have lifetime income, it should be called a retirement plan?
Absolutely, and I was kind of a victim of that too until I was educated by a fiduciary like yourself, and because all you have is a number. And okay, you can divide, I'm going to live 25 years in retirement and divide that into the $1 million or something and figure it out.
That's hypothetical, and it's an if plan because
That's right.
everything has to work just like the plan it to. Yeah. And I don't like those kind of, historically they'll say, well, historically everything's been fine. Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about history. I'm talking about futurally. In the future, my money better be there. And so, very passionate about this, as you can tell, because I've seen way too many people have the wool pulled over their eyes, Greg, where they've been told one thing, But when you and I, as financial scientists, look at the experiment, like back when you were taking a test in school, they said, show your equations, show your numbers.
Show the math.
Instead of just copying somebody in front of you. When we look at the math does not add up. So math and science over speculation and gambling any day, and we have the solution in the green accounts. Again, on our traffic lights of retirement, we have red, which is risk. We have yellow, which is money for emergencies. Like if you have a flat tire, like Chuck, I know you had one the other day. Flat tire, you can reach in the emergency account. Nothing, doesn't cost you anything to get it out, and it's readily available at any time. Earns a very small amount of interest, but it's not there for interest. It's there for your financial safety. And speaking of financial safety, all the way through retirement, financial safety net is a lifetime income, a check that comes to your mailbox each and every month, all the way through your retirement. Even if your balance goes to zero, you continue to get the check, which is amazing. We call that a financial fill-up strategy. And folks, if you don't have that, which most of you don't, unfortunately, you have these nice, great lump sums in your 401ks, your 403bs, and your thrift savings plans. But Greg, a lump sum is only as good as a lump sum. It could go away, especially if it's tied to the market. It could go away without you even spending it. So we need to make sure to isolate some of that money, put a force field around it, get it in a place in a green account where you will know with certainty the guaranteed minimum you will get every single month for the rest of your life, regardless of what happens in the stock market. And it's not tied to the market, and there's no commissions coming out of your money, and there's no unnecessary fees or risk on that money. And the beauty of that is we know with certainty what your minimum amount of income is going to be through retirement. You know the magic word I said in that whole sentence is guaranteed minimum. Words, 2 words. Because we're showing you the worst case scenario. Chances are it's not going to be as bad as we think it's going to be, so therefore you will have more income. But you're never going to have less than we show. And the dirty trick in the financial world is with the hypothetical examples we see everyone getting, they're assuming pretty good returns. So if that doesn't happen, you're going to have less money than you thought. Wouldn't it be great to have more? Always have more or the same and never be surprised.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of funny. I'm gonna pick your brain here a little bit. I've heard you say this many times, Coach.
Yep.
In which, and you've seen it as well as I have. You see the financial statements say there's an 80% chance you're gonna have enough money.
It's like weather forecasting.
80%. I'm sorry.
That's a really good weather forecast. 80. Usually it's 50% chance of rain. Well, that means he flipped a coin, right? So yeah, but it's got to be 100. If we're talking about your retirement, your safety, your security, your house, your homestead, everything you depend on in retirement, that better be 100% certainty of it working, not 99%. If you got on a plane today and they said you got a 99% chance of landing safely where you're going, but there's a 1% chance we're going to have a fiery crash, what would you do? Get off the
drive.
plane. Yeah. I thought you were going to fly yourself. It said. No, you get away. And so, folks, many of you are in a lot worse situations than that in your portfolios. The crash landing will come after you can no longer do anything about it. So the best time to do something about it is now. We don't have many time slots available each week, but we do have 20 slots available this week for you to have your very own total retirement plan done up for you. And when we do this, it's 22 steps behind the scenes, by the way, but the most important step, I think, that I enjoy doing is helping you figure out where you really are right now. Many of you don't even really know where you are financially, a retirement base. You're looking at all these lump sums, but you really don't know where you are. When I used to go to the shopping malls, I used to go to the food court. So I'd park in the parking lot, and I'd walk in the shopping mall. The first thing I would do is trying to find the map. The map would show you where the food court was, but more importantly, it would show me where I was to start with, so I could know where to go.
You are here.
You are here. And so, folks, we do that same kind of concept for you. We show you where you are right now, and many of you are in a lot better position than you think. But doing a couple things the right way now can ensure that you will never worry again in the future. And that makes a lot of sense to me, and it really makes me feel good when we help people pull the curtain back on where they are, but more importantly, stage your retirement the right way. And so if you are interested in one of the first 20 people to call, there'll be no cost, no obligation. You'll even get a 3-book set of 3 of the books I've written and a box set on the 401k. Call right now, and we'll be right back.
Our podcast, Financial Pizza, brings you our favorite radio segments of the week. Delivering slices of interviews with financial advisors from around the country, along with special reports on a variety of retirement topics. All brought to you hot, fresh, and in 30 minutes or less. Listen on your favorite podcasting app or visit financialpizza.com.
Welcome back into the Financial Safari. Been a fast-moving show, Chuck. Fast-moving show, Greg.
Tremendous show.
Going through just some of the pitfalls, some of the trap doors, some of the mistakes some of the unknown variables, some of the hypothetical situations. Remember, I talked about hypothetical earlier, not a good thing. Hypothetical situations in the financial world, but I want to talk about something that has more people confused, more people worried, concerned, baffled, staying up all night, eyes open, wondering what's going to happen, night sweats. Long-term care, Greg. Long-term care, Chuck. And so I've got a long chapter on this in my upcoming book. And the cost of long-term care I talk about, is long-term care insurance worth it? And then the quote, Greg, and we'll start with the quote and work backwards. The quote is, it'll never happen to me. How many times have you heard that in your life?
Well, that's right. And I had a situation like that before Greg answers the question with my mother. And I remember years ago before she passed, a well-meaning financial advisor told her to buy one of these policies.
Well, at least he was trying. Yeah,
he tried. And then she was already in her late 80s at the time. And yeah.
Did you hear that? I'm sorry. This
So
came out
guess
naturally.
what? So the little son, Chucky Clayton, went over, and little Chucky told this gentleman in Michigan that, no, I don't think my mother is interested in that
Can you
policy.
imagine what the premiums must have been, the cost for an 80-year-old to get that?
$500 a month.
Right, and I didn't
Well,
know
wait,
about
at
something
least.
that I know Coach and you are going to talk about in terms of life insurance today and how that can take care of long-term care. We didn't have that vehicle. He didn't sell us any vehicle like that or even tell us about that vehicle.
So let's talk about the 3 ways to have long-term, well, 4 ways to have long-term care or looking at long-term care.
All right.
And then when we hear long-term care, we're talking about the facilities. I'm not talking about long-term care insurance right now. So when we hear long-term care, everybody automatically assumes this guy here is talking about long-term care insurance. No, I'm talking about the long-term care stays, the nursing home.
Yeah, well, it's expensive.
Yeah, well, there's different places. And if you're on Medicaid, the government can take care of you, but that means you have no money. And they know if you've hidden money or moved money, they do clawbacks. What is it, 5 year?
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, and also, it's debatable, but you don't need the government coming after you saying or thinking you might have committed fraud doing that too, because they'll send some investigators over, and that will not be a fun. You'll have your own long-term care facility to be a prison.
You can't put
Free
money-
healthcare.
No money in the mattress.
Yeah,
there.
so we have to be very careful when we do this. But when we talk about long-term care facilities, and a facility is where you go and you have 24/7 care for yourself. You can either go to a facility or you can have someone come to your house.
Right.
Now, if you have nurses come to your house, that's 3 different nurses every day because they're 8-hour shifts. So you have to pay for 3 nurses 7 days a week, 365 days a year. That gets expensive. So we need to make sure we have enough money to have our freedom of choice when we get to that level when we do need care. Now, I'm the first one to admit I hope I never have to go to a nursing home. Matter of fact, Chuck, I'm contradicting myself there because if we have to go as guys, I've been in there, I've visited relatives in nursing homes, there's about 80 to 90% women in there. It's the best thing ever if you're a guy, you can make it in there, right, Chuck? It's like 9 girls to every guy. But no, seriously, what we want to do though is we want to make sure that you have the choice of where you want to go. So the ways to do that is you self-fund. You put a bunch of money away, you're independently wealthy, you say no matter what a facility costs, I've got the money.
Right.
Or no matter what it costs to stay home, I've got enough money to stay home and have the nurses come to me. Most of you watching, and most people in America in general, cannot afford that option. Don't have that coming. Number one, we don't know what that cost is going to be. I know it's going to get more and more expensive, so you may have millions of dollars put aside right now and thinking that's going to cover you, and then when you get there, the cost is $4 million instead of $2 million over the term of the stay.
Sure.
So self-funding, not a good option, but hey, it's good if you have that kind of money. Another option is buy a long-term care policy. And a long-term care policy, you pay the premiums, and hopefully they won't raise the rate on you. They can, some can.
They pretty much
They
do.
can, and they do, and then unfortunately they raise the rate to the point where you can't afford it anymore. That's why I don't like it. I've been licensed to offer long-term care for over 20 years. Guess how many long-term care standalone policies I've offered?
I'm going to say 0.
0. Because I've
Guess
never
I'm
found one that I could trust. I never found one that I would offer my mom.
Me
There
too.
you go.
So again, that's the way we do things here. If we wouldn't offer it to our parents, and we like our parents, if you don't like your parents, we might, but if we wouldn't offer it to our parents, we would never offer it to anybody else. That's the parent test.
Yeah.
All right, so then you're saying, well, Coach, you said it's not really worthwhile to self-fund, or you got to have a whole lot of money for that, and the long-term care policies cost so much. What are the other options? Well, there's an annuity option where you can use, have money in an annuity, which is basically a savings account from an insurance company that gives you a stream of income if you set it up right all your life. Well, some of these annuity companies will double that stream of income for up to 5 years. So if you're getting, let's say, $50,000 a year as income in retirement from your annuity, it will double it to $100,000, which is not bad. Hey, it's better than nothing, right? It's a doubler, and it's up to 5 years. So that's pretty good. Then it goes back down to the normal amount that you were getting. Okay, well, what if you stay in a facility 9 years? Well, then you're a little bit of trouble. So the option that I really like is the life insurance option. And these are the very best life insurance companies. These are very new, by the way, where they will enable you to take your death benefit, parts of your death benefit out tax-free. Each year you're in a facility or each year you need home health care, and pay for the long-term care out of your death benefit. Now, I'm not talking about your cash value. I'm talking about your death benefit, the amount you never would see. Life insurance used to pay your beneficiaries that money, the people that lived when you weren't living anymore. Now you are living and taking advantage of the policy. We call this a living benefit rider, and insurance companies add it, Greg, for minimal cost, if not any cost more at all, because a lot of people that are watching have life insurance policies that are older and they're paying more than they should. You can actually have a life insurance audit and review. We can show you if you're overpaying and how paying the same amount of money you're paying right now could get you more life insurance and the long-term care option using the death benefit. It makes a lot of sense.
Those long-term care options that are as good as they are today are
They're
really
awesome.
quite recent,
Yeah.
really recent. And here's what I love about it. So let's say you go to bed with your loved one and one night both of you don't wake up. Okay, and you have a $200,000 policy. That money goes to the kids, tax-free.
Tax-free, big word.
Tax-free.
Big two
But
words.
let's say you're rust out and you need that money. You cannot conduct the 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, such as toileting, transferring, feeding yourself, things like that. Then what happens, that activates that rider. And here's what I love about the rider, Coach, is because it's an indemnity. So because first of all, everybody wants to stay home.
Yeah.
So therefore, what you have to do is you have to retrofit your house. You have to build ramps. You have to take care of bathrooms, things like that. So all they do is they cut you a check of tax-free money. And when they do that, you can do it every day. Or maybe you have grandkids that want to take care of you.
Yep.
And then so therefore, you can do that, whereas with traditional long-term care insurance is done on a reimbursement. And they would not reimburse your
spend it
grandchild to take care of you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of good things here, but the beauty here is you know what the money's going to be because it's your death benefit. So you could have just started a policy last year, maybe paid $10,000 into the policy, and then take out $100,000 out of the death benefit the very next year to pay for long-term care. It's amazing. Yeah. That's how to turn a $1 bill into a $10 bill. It really makes a lot of sense. I mean, we get so passionate about it. It almost is like we're too excited about it, but I'm getting one myself.
It makes a lot of sense.
55, I'm getting one now. I'm going to fund it for 10 years. At 65, I'll have a big death benefit, and I'll have a long-term care policy, and I'll have also tax-free retirement income if I choose, folks. And tax-free retirement income is going to be bigger and bigger of a deal when we consider that our country has a national debt of probably $30 trillion or more. They're going to have to get that money from somewhere. The tax rates are going up, so tax-free is going to become more and more of an ally. Greg, do you agree or disagree?
I couldn't agree with you more. And here's something else. I'm going to sound like a timeshare salesman, but wait, there's more. Okay.
Hurry up. We only have
But
20
this is
seconds.
really, really important.
Yep.
We take for granted that we're insurable today.
Yep.
We may not be insurable tomorrow. So, folks, if you're really thinking about this, you really need to do this as soon as
The
possible.
best equity you have is your health and then your money second. Folks, give a call right now. For the next 20 people, we'll give you a total retirement plan, a book set, and the review on your long-term care. Chuck Clayton, Greg Berry, and Coach Pete. See you next week.